Now the latest ITV news in the Calendar region with Katy Rickitt and Duncan Wood.
Good evening, welcome to ITV News. This is Monday Night Calendar with Katy Rickitt and Duncan Wood. It's our first programme together tonight. We've pinched Katy from Good Morning Britain and we'll introduce you to her properly a little bit later on.
Yeah, thank you for the very warm welcome, Duncan, and all the team. But for now, first of all, these are tonight's main stories.
Climate change warning, a stark message is issued to stop weather events like this, which have caused devastation across the region. One farmer says the trend is worrying.
We seem to have lost our 4 seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter. We just now get blocks of weather which tend to be one extreme or the other.
The loneliness epidemic. While some embrace newfound freedoms, how a befriending scheme is helping those who've lost confidence or just feel forgotten.
When you live on your own, you're on your own. You go out on your own, you go on holiday on your own, you go walking on your own. You're always on your own.
Dig for victory, the wartime call to grow your own, which is now even more popular as interest in allotments boom.
And another champion of the world from Winkerbank. We'll be hearing from Sheffield's Kid Galahad.
First, to a landmark study today described as a red code for humanity, which blames all of us for driving global warming and warns if things don't change, there'll be an increase in extreme weather conditions like the flooding which has blighted parts of our region over the past decade.
Yes, the report by leading scientists says that human activity is changing the climate and it will need deep cuts in the emissions of greenhouse gases to stabilise those rising temperatures.
Well, thousands of homes and businesses have been flooded across Yorkshire so many times. And as David Hurst now reports, today's study is a wake-up call to all of us.
All too familiar images in recent years across Yorkshire. It might be Leeds or York or the Calder Valley, Fishlake or Rotherham. Freak downpours which often don't discriminate, bringing destruction and misery in their wake. Today's milestone report warns there's worse to come, with temperatures rising faster and the prospect of dangerously high sea levels in decades to come.
I don't know what will happen to us.
2 years ago, Hanif Khan was in tears when we spoke to him after a deluge saw his business flooded out here in Rotherham. Now, like many firms in flood-prone areas, he can't get insurance, and fears about more flooding are never far from his mind.
You're always worried that what's going to happen, because we're not exactly high up in order to, if the water falls away, it will take its natural course. But obviously, the problem we have is if there's a sheer volume of it, it cannot go quick enough, and will probably end up becoming prone to flooding.
Millions of pounds has been spent on flood defence work across Yorkshire.
What we're needing to do is keep the River Don in the River Don, away from the canal.
Here in Rotherham, new flood defences include a new wall at Forge Island next to the railway station, which was flooded in 2019, and work to make improvements along the River Don, which runs through the town.
It's going to take an awful lot of money, isn't it, this?
Yeah, it's going to take the government to allow the Environment Agency to step outside its present funding formula.
So for those people who can't be bothered to be worried about climate change, I mean, what would you say?
I think it's something that's affecting us all. We see it every year in this country, but we're also seeing it right at the moment in the horrific fires in Greece and the last month and the terrible floods that struck right across Western Europe.
Nick Grayson took over the running of Netherhaugh Farm on the outskirts of Rotherham when his dad died 8 years ago. He says the impact of climate change is now a huge factor in modern day farming.
And in all honesty, in those 8 years, I don't think I've had one good growing season, really, whether that's been too dry or too wet. We seem to have lost our 4 seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter. We just now get blocks of weather which tend to be one extreme or the other.
The Prime Minister says he wants a net zero Britain by 2050, and that includes banning gas boilers in homes and the sales of new diesel cars. But going green has to be paid for. The big question is, Just how much of a burden will that be to hard-pressed families? David Hurst, ITV News, Rotherham.
Well, John joined us now, and John, the warnings are pretty clear.
Well, yes, Katie, they are. In fact, the last report of this kind from the IPCC was in 2013. And since then, the understanding of climate science has grown immensely. But sadly, so has the number of extreme weather events such as flooding, heat waves and wildfires, like the ones we have in Greece right now. The report was put together by 234 climate scientists from around the world, including some from the UK Met Office. And some of the findings include the rates of change we are seeing in the global climate is down to us, human beings. But there is some hope. The scientists say that a catastrophe can still be avoided if the world acts fast. And the main aim of this report, as well as it being a massive wake-up call, is to furnish governments around the world with the stark facts of climate change ahead of COP26 in Glasgow in November.
Worrying stuff. Thanks for giving us that info, John, and we'll see you a bit later on in the programme.
Well, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he hopes today's report will be a wake-up call for the world to take action. Our political correspondent Harry Horton has more from Westminster. And Harry, what's the UK government doing about this, and will it be enough?
Yeah, well, the focus of the UK government and indeed governments around the world at the moment is that COP26 climate summit in Glasgow in November. There, world leaders will try and thrash out some sort of agreement to limit emissions and keep temperature rises down in future. At the moment, the target is to limit global temperature rises to 1.5 degrees Celsius. But one of the authors of today's report, a professor from the University of Leeds, she says it's clear already that target will be exceeded.
We can see that the 1.5 degree temperature target set by the Paris Agreement in 2015 is likely to be reached or exceeded in the next 20 years. But there is still possibility for us to stabilise temperatures below 1.5 degrees Celsius and to limit the further impacts we would experience at higher warming levels.
Now, the government says it plans to reduce emissions to zero by the year 2050. Today, along with two other companies, it's announced £266 million worth of investment in wind energy in the Humber region. The hope is that in the years to come, the North Sea can become a big renewable energy hub. Now, Labour's Ed Miliband, the Doncaster MP, Shadow Business Secretary, he says that the COP26 summit is our last best hope of a global breakthrough. It's clear that scientists and politicians putting an awful lot of pressure on that summit needs to be successful if we are to avoid the very worst effects of climate change in the future.
Harry Horton there at Westminster.
Now, it's been described as one of the worst consequences of the pandemic: increased social isolation and loneliness, particularly among the elderly.
One charity in North Yorkshire is offering what is known as a befriending scheme, but the impact of the lockdowns has been so great it's struggling to keep up with demand, as Tina Gelder now reports.
When you live on your own, you're on your own. You go out on your own, you go on holiday on your own, you go walking on your own. Always on your own.
Wendy Johnson is 85. Her husband Alan died 15 years ago.
You just try to be as all right as you can. Do the best you can.
She says her family is incredibly supportive, but still, at times, the loneliness can be overwhelming.
You know, you sort of sit, you put on a brave face, and you sit, and you think, there must be a bit more to life than this. I go for a walk around the block. I go to the shop. You go to the shop because you see people and you talk to the checkout. And so that relieves the monotony of being on your own. But, you know, it's just not the same. Not somebody just for you, is it?
With the lockdowns compounding those feelings, Wendy is now on the waiting list of a local befriending scheme.
Careful.
Which unites those who feel isolated with volunteers who visit them once a week.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
People like 92-year-old Dorothy. She spent more than 40 years of her life with Bill, but like Wendy, she too is now a widow. She and Amandine were brought together 5 years ago.
She takes me out, we go shopping, things I need. You see, I spend most of my time sitting in the chair in the window. Some days I don't see anybody. When I'm in the house, I get a bit miserable and, you know, have to talk to myself and say, come on, Dorothy, get going. But no, I don't know what I'd do without it.
I had a bit of time for myself, so I thought it'd be nice to just give back to my community. And we just get on like house on fire. We're very similar. We have a very similar sense of humor. But Dorothy is like a granny. She's my best friend. I'm telling her everything. She knows everything about my life. I often said I get probably more out of this experience than Dorothy does.
So we need to do an appeal, don't we? We need to get out on social media.
The service is run by the Harrogate charity supporting older people. Post-lockdown, they've seen unprecedented demand, with many people now having to wait for help.
People have lost confidence. They were scared to come out again. So we feel that what we're doing now with our befrienders is starting to give people the confidence to rejoin the world.
We need people to come forward to volunteer. We ask our volunteers for an hour a week. It's building up a great friendship. A bit nervous at first perhaps, but once they get going, it's like a true friend. So the true friend comes in and talks about what a lovely day it is, that they might have been to this fantastic cafe, should we go? It's a different relationship.
It's a relationship Wendy now needs.
Somebody would come down, maybe we'd go out for a walk, maybe we'd go out for a ride, you know. But just somebody who I can talk to would be nice.
As life slowly begins to return to normal, there are fears that one part of society will be left behind. The COVID pandemic leading to what's been described as an epidemic of loneliness. Tina Gelder, ITV News, North Yorkshire.
Well, for information about support in tackling loneliness, please go to our website, itv.com/calendar.
Still to come. Punching his weight, Kid Galahad becomes the latest title winner from a world-beating Sheffield gym.
And some punchy showers around today, but also some nice warm spells of sunshine. What does the rest of the week have in store weather-wise? Join me soon and I'll let you know.
Next tonight, unsure of the reaction that he would get from his own community in Leeds, it took Wasim Feroz more than a decade to find the right time and the right place to tell the world that he was gay.
The conflict about his sexuality had caused him hurt and pain since he was a teenager, but now, aged 31, he hopes to change attitudes to homosexuality in his community. He's been talking to Amani Khan as part of South Asian Heritage Month, which is exploring issues like identity and history.
Wasim was left broken after spending the majority of his life hiding his true identity.
It does negatively impact you, and it does take you to a really dark place. I thought the only alternative for myself was to just not be around, you know, just end kind of my life. And that's the difficult thing, that I was searching for a place, a home, and I couldn't find it for a very long time.
During lockdown last year, he found the courage to come out as gay to his family and friends, but he encountered challenges along the way.
I was constantly on a journey to come out and trying to find the right time and the right place to do that. And that only happened recently. I'm 31 years old now. I've known since I was a teenager. There's been challenges across the way in terms of getting to that point. And I've kind of played a different character depending on whatever setting I was in. So when I was back home, you know, I played kind of this straight character. That wasn't me. I cannot emphasize enough how difficult it was to just not being yourself around the people you love. And I probably delayed it because I had this kind of fear that I was scared of what the reaction would be.
Eventually, Wasim realised that in order for others to accept him, he would need to accept himself.
One of the really important things for me was getting that acceptance from someone, whether it was a family member or whether it was a friend. The way I felt about myself was, I'll be quite frank, I didn't want to be gay. I needed to understand what I was going through, but I also needed to hear someone say to me that what I am is okay.
He wants to remind people in the South Asian community that your sexuality doesn't change who you are.
I'm appealing to people in the community to just see us for who we are and who we want to be. I'm not looking for that immediate acceptance. But what I am asking you is to just listen.
So tell me what your advice is to people who may be finding themselves in a dark place.
There are groups out there who can support you. There are friends, colleagues out there who want to support you. But there is a family of gay Asian community out there to support. And my message is quite simple: you're not alone.
Wasim hopes people don't have to experience what he went through, and is hopeful that in the years to come more people like him will continue to break barriers.
It's really hard to kind of look back in my teenage years, because there was so much pain and so much hurt. But I'm here today saying that I'm a proud British Asian gay man, and I hope kind of my story's proof that things do get better. I do genuinely believe that in 10, 15, 20 years' time, there'll be more people like me out there who are incredibly proud of who they are.
Wasim Feroz ending that report there. And if you're going through a difficult time and can relate to Wasim's story, you can find support on our website at itv.com/calendar.
Well, the ITV Evening News continues at 6:30 with Charlie.
Coming up, a code red for humanity, the hard-hitting UN report on the climate crisis. Scientists say we'll get more extreme heat waves, fires, droughts and flooding if the world doesn't act fast. Also ahead, protesters plead with the PM to save Geronimo, the alpaca condemned to death over failed TB tests. And a hero's welcome for the Team GB stars, but what will be the legacy of Tokyo? Join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Thanks, Charlie. Now, time for the sport. Arif is here in the studio with all the details.
For the love of the game. eBay sponsors ITV Regional Sports Reports.
All the weekend football action to come, but let's start with a new boxing world champion. Kid Galahad fulfilled his dream on Saturday night with a dominant performance against Jazza Dickens to win the vacant IBF featherweight title. But there's been no rest for Galahad, who's been already back in training. Less than 48 hours after becoming the world champion, Barry Awad, known as Kid Galahad, is already back training at the Ingle Gym in Sheffield. It's that dedication and commitment that's taken him to the top of the world.
That separates the amateurs from the pros, doesn't it? You know, if you want to be a professional in this game, you've got to be on it all the time. When you get in that ring, you're fighting for your life. It's a serious sport. You can get seriously hurt. So, you know, I take it serious. You know, I live the life. Don't take no days off. Straight back in.
He was training in the gym at the hotel Sunday morning. You just can't buy that. You can't tell people to do it. Either you want to do it or you don't want to do it. And Barry just wants to do it. Nobody trains like him. Nobody lives like him. We'll probably never have another one like him. He's phenomenal.
It was Galahad's second and arguably last chance of winning the IBF title when he took on Jazza Dickens on Saturday night. After dishing out round after round of punishment, the fight was stopped after the 11th round. Has it sunk in, what you've achieved?
This is 19 years of blood and sweat. What's happening in the future now? I want bigger things. Hopefully can get unification, try and get a defence within the end of this year, then get a unification. Then we'll see where we go from there.
Galahad is the latest of a long line of champions produced at the Ingle Gym, and the fighter was the last to be trained by the late, great Brendan Ingle before his death 3 years ago.
Everything I did in there on Saturday night, that's what he taught me. And went in there and, you know, he always says to me, make sure you bring your own referees to the fight. Your referee and your judge, and that's what I did. I didn't leave it to scorecards.
How proud would your dad, Brendan, be of his achievements?
You know, it's just a shame that he's not here to witness, you know, Galahad winning the world title, because he was like, you know, Galahad was like the boxing son that Brendan never had. You know, we all box, but Galahad was like the kid who like could have been Brendan's youngest son who became a world champion. He'd be so proud.
The Sheffield fighter has been forging his way to the top for 19 years. With steely determination like his, you'll be hard-pressed to find a harder-working world champion. It'll take something special to wrestle that belt away from him. Now, the Football League season got underway at the weekend with the backdrop of thousands of fans. It's the first time in 18 months that the terraces have been packed out at stadiums like the Keepmoat in Doncaster, as Jonathan Brown reports.
After a summer spent banging the drum for the England team, football fans across our region spent the weekend once again cheering on the clubs closest to their hearts. Almost 6,500 of them were at the Keepmoat in Doncaster.
A breath of fresh air, just to go out and just some bit of normality to start back with.
Nothing beats it, cheering with the fans. When everyone scores, it goes crazy. Because of lockdown and that, we've not been able to come, so it's his first day. Isn't it? Oh. Yes, it is.
And it wasn't just some fans that were new to the stadium, with 10 debutants in the Rovers side. They went ahead through one of them in Charlie Seaman, but eventually lost 2-1. They'll be hoping to follow in the footsteps of Championship new boys Hull City this year. Richie Smallwood helped the reigning League One champions to a 4-1 comeback win over Preston. Barnsley also came from behind after this long punt forward sent Toby Sibbett clear, his tidy finish securing them a point away at Cardiff. Covid-hit Huddersfield Town also brought home their first point of the campaign thanks to Naby Sarr's towering header at Derby. Meanwhile, 29,000 fans witnessed the Blades' defeat on their Championship return. Oliver Burke came closest to scoring. Back in League One, relegated Rotherham secured an impressive victory. This fine team move sealed the 3 points, with Ben Wiles applying the finish. It wasn't pretty at the Priestfield though. This goalmouth scramble ended with Theo Eden putting Lincoln ahead before Gillingham later equalised. Meanwhile, Sheffield Wednesday drew their first game back in the third tier, despite Barry Bannon's best efforts. In League Two, Harrogate threw away a 2-goal lead before Warren Burrell stabbed home the winner in the 91st minute. Mansfield left it even later to secure 3 points. Danny Johnson slotted home this penalty in the 96th minute. This Ryan Loft penalty turned out to be a consolation for Scunthorpe as they went down 3-1 to Swindon. But the desire among spectators to return to the stands was perhaps clearest in Exeter. Nearly 700 Bradford City fans made a 600-mile return trip to witness a goalless draw. Jonathan Brown, ITV News.
Rugby League now, and the Huddersfield Giants came from behind to beat Wakefield Trinity to record their third league win in a row. Joe Westerman went over to put Wakefield 18-0 up in the first half. Jermaine McGilvery went over twice in the second half to spark a Giants comeback, with Jack Waldo completing the turnaround. And finally from me, the Olympics came to an end yesterday, and what a 2 weeks it's been, with plenty of medal winners from Yorkshire. If we were a nation, we would have finished in joint 18th place with the Czech Republic, having picked up 4 golds, 4 silver and 3 bronze medals. And this afternoon, Team GB athletes who were competing over the weekend touched down at Heathrow this afternoon. Among them was cyclist Katie Marchant and Ed Clancy, who you can just about see in the back there. He was forced to retire from the sport after injuring his back in the team pursuit. And that's all the sport from me from a busy weekend.
It really has been a busy weekend. You probably need to lie down after all that. Thanks, Arif.
Well, now, if you've been trying to get your hands on an allotment recently to grow your own fruit and veg and become a bit more self-sufficient, then you will have had a bit of a struggle on your hands.
That's because there is, on average, an 18-month waiting time to secure an allotment in many areas of the country due to the pandemic.
For some, it's about the produce. For others, it's about the sanctuary they provide, as Amrit Gahir's been finding out.
Keen gardener Ross Bennett from Sheffield takes pride in his produce. But tending to his allotment is about more than just the fruits of his labour.
The allotment's been sort of like a sanctuary, like a safe space that our volunteers could come and sort of know that they can just be outside and just be supported in sort of however they're feeling that week, and get involved in something that's sort of more hands-on and out of the house, and that's just really important, I think.
During lockdown, with limited access to the outside world, there was a huge spike in demand for allotment plots. It's a trend the National Allotment Society, who are running National Allotments Week this week, are very pleased to see.
People realised with the pandemic that they could get outside still and then actually get some products from their efforts. So growing your own fruit and veg, people find it therapeutic. They get the opportunity to chat to people that have a similar interests to them. Overall, good healthy lifestyle, good food. When you pick your own fresh, get it cooked as quickly as possible. Absolutely brilliant.
Most supermarkets in this country stock fruit and veg flown in from thousands of miles away. It's a practice that is coming under more and more scrutiny as we become conscious of our carbon footprint and the future of our planet.
There's an urban population, so in the UK, for example, more than 80% of the population live in cities and towns. We're quite disconnected from food production now. So one of the really important things that growing fruit and veg in our cities and towns can do is reconnect us with that food production. By growing food locally, they're reducing things like food miles and potentially increasing the sustainability or the sustainable supply of food production.
Although allotments are in more demand than ever, the huge benefits of growing your own might just be worth the wait. Amrit Gahir, ITV News.
Might just. Any green fingers in the Rickitt household?
Not a chance. I think between myself and my husband, we could kill a cactus and have done.
Good record. Mr Mitchell,
Yes.
You're back from your holidays, as am I.
Yes, that's right. I tell you what, we had some cracking spuds, didn't we, out of the calendar veg patch?
Our veg patch.
They were great.
Do you want to do that again?
Bursting with flavour. No.
Okay.
Up at Honley today, there were some shower clouds and some sunshine as well. Now, most of the cows are standing up there. Of course, they normally sit down when it's raining, but just take a look. That's what that cow thinks of the weather we're having at the moment. Now, it might be hard pushed to get clear skies this weekend, but it is coming up to the peak of the Perseid meteor showers. On Thursday, in fact, you could see up to 150 an hour, and there's a new moon, so we won't be spoiling the show. Best views around midnight. So there will be some clear skies, but not completely clear skies, but it's worth popping outside to look for them.
Certainly is. Well, now we are the team. It's time to find out a little bit more about Katy. We know that you don't have green fingers, cacti killer, but we do have something in common, don't we?
We do, because I've come over to you from Good Morning Britain, and of course you did the same job as me for GMTV.
GMTV, I managed 7, you've managed 11, so you deserve the gold medal, and I'll end up with the bronze. Yeah, definitely. But I tell you what as well, I used to park my car at the back of Coronation Street very long time ago. Your husband was on the other side working on the set. He wasn't your husband then, though?
No, he wasn't. I was just saying, actually, I probably will offend the 2 most important men in my life by saying that was about 20 years ago.
There's Adam. Lovely. Oh, that's a lovely picture of the 2 of you there. Oh, bless. Isn't that gorgeous? And you have dogs as well?
We do. We have 3 dogs. 2 of them are bulldogs who basically do what that cow does and stick their tongues out. And this is about the only picture I could ever get of them together. And you, John, have a baby as well, don't you?
Well, yeah, it's not my dog. It's my daughter Jessie's dog. But here he is, Zeus. Big name, little sausage dog. He's absolutely wonderful. Love him to bits. He's a cheeky little monkey.
Absolutely.
But welcome, Kate. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Well, you've got to get to the map. Have you enjoyed it enough to come back tomorrow?
I've had a wonderful day, and if I can try and figure out how to use the microwave, I'll be back tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. That was a thing we'll get into tomorrow and tell you all about. But here's John with his weather forecast.
Bringing you blue skies and sunshine. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yes, hello again. Well, all things considered, not too bad a day today. I think we all saw at least a little bit of sunshine. There was a lovely sunrise here at Denholme in West Yorkshire, and this was a scene around lunchtime from Baildon Moor looking over Airedale towards Keighley. So the view from space does confirm the best of the sunshine was over North Yorkshire first thing this morning, especially towards the coast. 1 or 2 showers did start to form before brighter weather edges in from the west again. So through this evening, just 1 or 2 showers around, especially in the south of the region, I think, Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire. Then the bulk of tonight will stay dry before some outbreaks of showery rain turn up towards the Dales and the Pennines by morning. The overnight low around 13 Celsius. There's this morning's sunrise again, this time at Castleford. Tomorrow the sun's up at 5:35, setting again at 8:47. So those outbreaks of rain over North and West Yorkshire will start to work their way eastwards during the course of the day, turning more showery. Almost anywhere could see a shower tomorrow, but into tomorrow afternoon some brighter weather will edge in from the west. Top temperatures up to around 21 Celsius. In a moderate westerly wind, and those showers will pull out into the North Sea tomorrow evening. And then into Wednesday, well, it's going to be a fine day, I think. A fair amount of sunshine in the morning, a little bit of cloud developing in the afternoon. This is a frontal system out to the west, which will bring 1 or 2 showery outbreaks of rain on Thursday. Thursday into Friday, we can expect 1 or 2 showers. It'll turn quite breezy as well from the southwest. Temperatures still around average at around 21 Celsius. That's it. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
That's it from us. The national and international stories are next with Charlene White.
For everyone on Canada, thanks very much for watching. We'll both see you tomorrow at 6.
See you.